Good evening. Welcome back to the Vampire Library, my dark and spooky lair full of vampire books and Gothic ephemera. It has been a while since I last talked to you about my new vampire books, hasn't it? The last time was just before Christmas, wasn't it? After I had returned from the vampire ball? Ah, memories. Thinking about going back to New Orleans gets me through most of the year. And since then, I have received more vampire books from you and from my family and stuff. A lot of these were Christmas gifts from my brother and my dad. Yeah, over 4 months ago. So we got 4 months worth of vampire books and things for me to catch you up on. Be wondering by now, Maven, don't you already have all the vampire books yet? Your shelves are so full. What's that? 4 new bookcases in your lair that I see? Yes, and they actually have some room on them now, so I have a place to put all these books. But as for having all the vampire books, not even close. I never really set out with a mission to have the most comprehensive library of vampire books that exists. But I kind of am starting to wonder if there is any person or institution out there that has as many or more individual vampire books than I do. Do I have the largest library of vampire books out there? Surely not. Do you have a larger library of vampire books than I do? I've lost count of how many I have. I'm thinking 500 at this point. I'll have to count again. I get to count again! I love counting things. Making lists. I make lists of all of the books and things that I share with you in these videos. I use Amazon storefront list maker because that's the only thing where you can link directly to products that I know about. If you know of something better, please tell me, because it is not a great tool and, Amazon. But yes, just so you don't have to rewatch all my videos and frantically write down notes of titles and try to make sure that you can see the little book cover that I'm showing you, I put all these books in a handy list that I always put in the description of these videos. The most recent acquisitions, along with every other book that I've ever told you about on all of these vampire shelves, and any of the things also that I have that I've been able to find buy links for so that you can go buy them yourself, as I support shopping for vampire books. I also support supporting your local libraries. I used to check out a lot of books from libraries, but I always said that as soon as I got a lair of my own dark, deep cell beneath the earth, I would start getting physical copies of all the books that I had already read, on ebook or from libraries or I borrowed from friends, just so I could keep them as my precious trophies. I'm doing it. I'm living the dream. Only took me how many years? I'm a millennial. I couldn't afford a house or bookshelves or spawning fledglings in my 20s. It took a while. I had to get all grown up and stuff. Now that I am wise and old, which I can say because my birthday is next week, May 1st, if you're wondering, the day after Walpurgisnacht. I know I pronounced that incorrectly. Walpurgis night. It's the only way I can make a birthday on May Day sound anything gothy. But yes, I have the privilege of old age now to have acquired space. Isn't that the dream, right? To have space. Space to put all of your books. Anyway, what is this book I'm holding? This book is Desmond, which my dad sent me for my birthday. Thank you, Dad. I opened it early because I am actually going out of town on my birthday next week, which I will tell you about. It's a very exciting trip. It's vampire related, very vampire related. Anyway, so there's this meme going around that Ulysses S. Grant's descendant writes gay vampire books. And it's oh yeah, I fought in the battles so that my child could eventually write gay vampire books. Which, yes, that is a good legacy to have, Ulysses S. Grant. And the author's name is Ulysses Grant Dietz, like Lydia Dietz from Beetlejuice. And the first book in his gay vampire series is called Desmond. I don't know anyone who's read this book. And I don't know if it's any good. All I know is that everyone's talking about it because of that meme. Let's see what it's about. Desmond Beckwith is not a happy man. A financial wizard with an international investment empire, he is also in love with his lifelong but straight friend Roger. At 45, in spite of a circle of supportive friends and an elegant New York townhouse full of antiques, he feels isolated and cut off from humankind. And with good reason. Desmond Beckwith is a 250-year-old vampire. For nearly 2 centuries, he has lived in New York, looking vainly for love and seeking to satisfy his twin thirst for blood and sex in those places where men of his kind have always met to find release and solace. Into Desmond's sheltered, lonely world stumbles Tony Chapman, an unemployed museum curator, down on his luck and one step away from being out on the streets, brutalized by the unforgiving nature of New York City. Tony is on the edge of despair when he meets this darkly handsome older man in the smoky dimness of a Greenwich Village bar. To their mutual astonishment, Tony proceeds to turn Desmond's protected little world on its head and to unlock pieces of Desmond's past lives and loves that were deeply buried in Desmond's memory. I always like the name Desmond for a vampire because it reminds me of the scientific name of bats, like the genus is like what, Desmodius? It's very close. There's like an extra end. I actually outlined a vampire story that I was going to turn into a novel when I finished writing the Company of Death series, and the main vampire character was named Desmond in that too. So yeah, it's a good name for a vampire. This came out in 1998. So 90s, urban fantasy, gay vampire fiction. I don't know if the author is gay. I'm assuming he is. I could be wrong, but... Oh, yeah! He dedicates it to my partner, Gary, and our children, Alexander and Grace, who make life worth living, and for Jeffrey, who made this seem worth writing. Ulysses S. Grant and his partner, Gary, thank you for bringing more gay vampires into the world. I'm sorry it took me until 2024 to learn of this book's existence. It was there all along. There is also at least one more book in this series that is for sale that I've seen on Amazon and other places. I don't know how many other books follow this book. I hope it's more than 2. House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. This book has been making the rounds. I've been hearing lots of buzz about it, and it looks really exciting. I am actually reading it with my IRL book club this month. I have a book club in person with my friends. Yes, I have friends in the real world. I see them once a month for book club. My book club in person focuses on sci-fi, fantasy, horror, genre, fiction, anything speculative. So sometimes we actually do read vampire books, and they chose this one. We were considering this book for Black History Month because it is a Black author, but instead we read How Long Till Black Future Month that month, so we're reading this one this month. And this came out in 2022, so relatively new. Wanted. Blood made of exceptional taste must have a keen proclivity for life's finer pleasures. Girls of weak will need not apply. A young woman is drawn into the upper echelons of society where blood is power in this dark, enthralling Gothic novel from the author of The Year of the Witching. Marion Shaw has been raised in the slums, where want and deprivation are all she knows. Despite longing to leave the city and its miseries, she has no real hope for escape until the day she spots a peculiar listing in the newspaper seeking a blood maid. Though she knows little about the far north, where wealthy nobles live in luxury and drink the blood of those in their service, Marion applies for the position. In a matter of days, she finds herself the newest blood maid in the notorious House of Hunger. There, Marion is swept into a world of debauchery, and at the center of it all is Countess Elisabeth, the countess who presides over this hedonistic court. The countess who presides over this hedonistic court is loved and feared in equal measure. She takes a special interest in Marion. Elisabeth is magnetic, and Marion is eager to please her new mistress. But when she discovers that the ancient walls of the House of Hunger hide even older secrets, Marion is thrust into a vicious game of cat and mouse. She'll need to learn the rules of her new home and fast, or its halls will soon become her grave. So is this a gay vampire book too? Does Marion and Elisabeth become a thing? I like that there are no men at all mentioned in the summary. How often do you see that happen? Countess Elisabeth, spelled Lisavet, reminds me of Countess Elizabeth Bathory, which in, the original Hungarian spelling is spelled like Ezerbet. And I've always been fond of her as a legend just because my name is also Elisabeth, and maybe I'll start going by Elisabeth for short. Would you call me Elisabeth? A cool name for a vampire countess, if I do say so myself. So yeah, I haven't started reading it yet for my RL book club, but I will soon. Empire of the Damned by J. Kristoff. This is the sequel, the book 2 in the who knows how many series of Empire of the Vampire, which came out a few years back and got a lot of buzz, a lot of popularity. It is huge. It is a doorstop. I am intimidated. I have not read it yet. I did put it up for vote for my Vampire Book Club, but they voted for something else that month. But we'll get to it again, and then we can read the sequel. I'm not going to read you the summary because I don't want to spoil anything from the first book. But just like the first book, this wonderful edition has all these illustrations. A lot of people assume these are young adult books just because they look kind of like anime in style with the illustrations and everything, but they are not. They are adult books. They are just very cool. The end papers. Such pretty books. Much anticipated sequel to the #1 international best-selling sensation Empire of the Vampire. Despite the chonkiness of this book, I've been told it's actually a pretty quick read and that I would probably like it, so I definitely do want to get to reading this pretty soon. There's just so many vampire books, so little time. Thank you for sending me this. I must keep my collections complete. The Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. Thank you. This is Mina and the Cult by Amy McCaw. It is third in the Mina series. I've already talked to you about Mina and the Undead and Mina and the Slayers. This is a series about vampire slayers set in New Orleans in the 90s, so it's historical fiction, and it's full of like 90s pop culture and stuff. Like they have the Be Kind, Rewind stuff on the beginning. As a city is gripped by fear, a group of believers is planning to disrupt the fragile balance between the humans and the supernatural creatures hiding in the shadows. This threatens the peace that Mina and her friends have been working so hard at maintaining. Caught between investigating the killer and trying to stop the group's destructive plans, Mina's third mystery might be her last. So, vampire mysteries set in the ancient times of the 1990s in New Orleans. Get the whole set. Vampire Game by Judal. This is a manga that I found in an antique store when I was randomly looking for furniture, looking for some bookshelves that I didn't end up finding. I wound up having to buy them from Target like I always do. I know nothing about it. I haven't read it yet. It is in English, but it is in, backwards like manga usually is, so it must have been translated. Vampire Game. Never heard of it before. It says it's a fantasy comedy manga published by Tokyopop, and it came out in 2009, just in time for the Twilight boom. I wonder why it didn't take off. Usually anything that was lucky enough to happen to come out at the same time as Twilight, you heard about. I didn't hear about this. Long ago, in an epic battle of might, King Philios defeated the vampire King Duzel. And as both lay dying on the field, Duzel swore that his reincarnation would find King Philios' reincarnation and exact his revenge. 100 years later, the moment of reincarnation has arrived. The only problem is that Duzel has been reincarnated as a harmless house cat. And to add to his frustration, he can't find the reincarnation of King Philios. Luckily, he has been adopted by Philios' granddaughter, the teenage princess Ishtar, through whom Duzel may be able to track down the great king's reincarnated soul. So a vampire reincarnated as a house cat. It sounds awesome! I wonder if it's a series or if it's just like a one-off. Let's see. There's an ad for Kingdom Hearts in the back. It looks like it ends like it could continue, but I don't know if it ever did. I would have to look that up. Have you heard of this? Is it any good? Is it fun? It's written as a comedy, so it sounds like it's going to be fun. The Ruined by Renee Adia. This is fourth in the Beautiful Quartet, the fourth and last book in that series. I've already talked to you about the first 3 books. We read both of the first 2 in Vampire Book Club, so you can watch my videos on those if you need a refresher for what the series is about. It is set in historical New Orleans. Again, vampires in historical New Orleans. Get the French Quarter map on the inside cover. Not going to read you the summary because I don't want to spoil the other books, but it was about a human girl and her vampire enemies to lover's boyfriend and, shenanigans. Entertainment Weekly said that The Beautiful returns the vampire novel to popular form, evoking the style of Anne Rice and breathing fresh life into the genre. Well, I had my own opinions about The Beautiful, which I'm not going to repeat because you can watch the video and see them for yourself. Yes, watch my videos. Give me the clicks. Give me the engagement. I haven't read the 3rd one yet, but thank you for sending me the 4th one. Now my set is complete. Every once in a while, we do put up sequels for Vampire Book Club to books that we as a group have already read. So yeah, these could still be on the list for future reads. Speaking of Vampire Book Club, it's been on pause for a few months just because life's been busy, Undeath's been busy, but you still have time to catch up because it's been on pause. So yay, lucky you. We are reading The Oldest Living Vampire Tells All by Joseph Duncan, which is about caveman vampires. Neolithic, Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal vampires. And we are reading Hollywood Gothic by the late, wonderful author David J. Scull, which is a history of the production of Dracula and its legacy and what happened to Bram Stoker's family and everything that happened after Dracula was published and all the adaptations that were made and all of the law disputes and drama that went on about it. It is a history book, a nonfiction book, which we do reread sometimes. Newsweek calls it the ultimate book on Dracula. I wanted to read a book by David J. Scull because he just tragically, abruptly died recently. He was in a horrible car crash, and his husband was in the car too, and he lived at first, but then he died later from complications. So it was just awfully tragic. So I wanted to read something of his to honor him. So we're going to have our meeting on this first, soon I hope, maybe when I get back from my next trip to New York, and then this next, so you do have time to catch up, read them, learn them, talk with me about them. Thirst by Marina Yuzuk. I'm sorry, I am probably not pronouncing her name very well. It is a novel translated by Heather Cleary. Came out in 2020, but the translated copy just came out this year, so this is the first time you can get it and read it in English. Across 2 different time periods, 2 women, 1 vampire, 1 mortal, confront a yearning that will not let them rest. A breakout genre-blurring novel from an exciting new voice of Latin America's feminist Gothic. In the twilight of Europe's bloody bacchanals, of murder and feasting without end, in the 19th century, a vampire arrives from Europe to the coast of Buenos Aires and watches as a village transforms into a cosmopolitan city. She must adapt, intermingle with humans, and be discreet. In present-day Buenos Aires, a woman finds herself at an impasse as she grapples with her mother's terminal illness and her own relationship to motherhood. When she first encounters the vampire in a cemetery, something ignites inside the 2 women, and they cross a threshold from which there is no turning back. With echoes of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Thirst plays with the boundaries of the Gothic genre while also exploring female agency, all-consuming desire, and the fragile vitality of even the most immortal of creatures. Latin American, feminist, lesbian vampires, yes, thank you. Thirst cleverly pulls you in with its melancholy prose and its setting and haunting mood, and before you know, you've read the whole thing while chewing on your hair, an evocative tale that both recalls and subverts the classic Gothic vampire novel. What a mesmerizing read. As with all great monster novels, it meditates on the ways in which systems of normality are constructed. In the end, it's not a mirror for human suffering that the vampire offers the world of the living, but rather the possibility of an escape. Suffered from the Night, Queering Stoker's Dracula, edited by Steve Berman. This has been on my wish list for a really long time, and someone gave it to me for Christmas. I think it was a family member. Thank you. My family doesn't watch these videos. It is an anthology of queer dark fantasy. It came out in 2013 and has 14 stories in it. I don't recognize any of the authors. One of the more admired characters in Western literature happens to be a murderer, a villain, a fiend, Count Dracula. Irish author Bram Stoker's classic novel stands high in the canon of speculative fiction, influencing countless 20th and 21st century storytellers in a variety of mediums. It is only natural for the outsiders of society to reinterpret the world's most infamous vampire through the lens of their own experience. Who is more outside of society than Dracula? Perhaps the writers of queer-themed speculative fiction and their characters. In Suffered from the Night, Queering Stoker's Dracula, editor Steve Berman provides a worthy companion to Lethe Press's widely acclaimed earlier anthologies of queered canon, A Study in Lavender, Queering Sherlock Holmes, and Where the Dark Eye Glances, Queering Edgar Allan Poe. Here you will find dark tales and a poem of Dracula himself, his minions, willing and not, his implacable enemies, and their heirs, prepared to be guided into the deep recesses of the queer imagination by an impressive array of award winners, veterans, and bright new lights. So yeah, you know what fan fiction is, don't you? It's when you take a classic story that's very heteronormative and you make it gay. Or gayer. In Dracula's case, there was a lot of gay kind of already there in Dracula. Under the surface, which makes it prime for this. I am very curious about this gay Edgar Allan Poe retelling. I want to find that one too. I didn't even know about that one. The Sherlock one too, yeah. I've read all the Sherlock Holmes stories. I know Sherlock. Hashtag DRCL Durkle Midnight Children #1. This is also a manga. Story and art by Shinichi Sakamoto, based on Bram Stoker's Dracula. Translated, it's in English, but it is backwards, so it was originally in Japanese. In this beautiful, evocative, and often surreal retelling of Bram Stoker's Dracula, a fearsome enemy arrives from the east, bringing with it horrors the likes of which have never been seen in the British Empire. Standing opposed are Wilhelmina, Mina, Murray, and her stalwart companions, united in a cabal that eclipses gender, nationality, and station until the day that they can achieve victory. As Mina struggles to find her place as Whitby School's first and only female student, a devilish horror is unleashed upon the academy and its unsuspecting students. Count Dracula. However, when this unspeakable evil lays claim to her beloved Lucy Westenra, Mina stands ready to join forces with her fellow students and fight against it with everything she has. Oh, so it's like a high school AU retelling of Dracula, but still set in oldie times. Mina being the first female student at school is something that was already done in the NBC series version of Dracula. That Mina, she wanted to be a scientist, a doctor, so she had to like sneak into medical school to watch the lectures, and then eventually they like let her actually do it as a woman. It's hard for a modern girl out there in 1896. But yeah, this one got a lot of buzz, so I am very curious about it. Hellbent by Sherry Priest, author of Bloodshot. This looks like it is a sequel to Bloodshot. Bloodshot sounded familiar, and so did Sherry Priest, so I thought I had it, but I looked all over my entire vampire library and I couldn't find it. So after I bought all those new bookcases, I kind of rearranged some things and hope no books have gotten away from me. Vampire books are escaping. Vampire and thief, Raylene Pendle doesn't need any more complications in her life. Her Seattle home is already overrun by a band of misfits, including Ian Stott, a blind vampire, and Adrian DeJesus, an ex-Navy SEAL/drag queen. But Raylene can't resist an old pal's request: seek out and steal a bizarre set of artifacts. Also on the hunt is a brilliant but certifiably crazy sorceress determined to stomp anyone who gets in her way. But Raylene's biggest problem is that Ian, after the death of his vaunted patriarch, has become the next target of some blood-sucking sociopaths. Now Raylene must snatch up the potent relic, solve a murder, and keep Ian safe, all while fending off that psychotic sorceress. But at least she won't be alone. A girl could do a lot worse for a partner than an ass-kicking drag queen, right? Yeah! Of course, I can't read this unless I get Bloodshot first. Do I have Bloodshot? Please remind me. I guess I could check those lists I make. It would be on there if I had it. But this isn't the first time one of my books has gone missing. Which one of you was it? Least you could do when you come into my lair and steal my books is, like, say hi to me. The full box set of the Vampire Academy series. I read the Vampire Academy books on ebook, or I checked them out from the library or something. I never actually owned them, but I did read them. They're the ones that I actually read. I don't think I read the last one. I got through most of them, but didn't read the last one. So now I can. I probably need a refresher. Probably have to go back and reread. I talked to you guys about the Vampire Academy movie and my opinion of it when compared to the books. I haven't watched the new show yet, though. There's a new version of Vampire Academy that I also have not heard great things about, but I'm still going to watch it. But the full, beautiful box set of books that my brother gave me for Christmas, thank you. These are used copies of Anne Rice Vampire Chronicles novels. Yes, I already had these, but someone was sweet enough to send me this hardback edition in the mail of the Vampire Lestat, which is my favorite. It's used. It used to be owned by someone named Mary Murphy. This is the 3rd edition, reprinted 3 times, 5th printing, January 1986. It was published October 31st, 1985, because it takes place on Halloween. That's when Lestat's concert takes place. So I don't know whether this is the 3rd printing or the 5th printing. Thank you. You can never have too many copies of the Vampire Lestat. And this I found when I was at the Central Florida Mensa Regional Gathering. They always have this, like, bring your old books and put them on this table, and then other people can take old books. So I saw this lying on the table. This is the paperback copy of Blood and Gold, Marius's story in the Vampire Chronicles. I love Marius. I love this book. I have this exact same paper copy, but it got ruined because water spill on it, got wet. So the pages are all, like, wet and swollen. So now I have this. It's not, like, perfect condition, but it is in much better condition, and I got it for exchanging some of my old books with some other people at the Mensa convention. This is how you know that people in Mensa have good tastes. This is the playbill from the off-Broadway show Dracula, A Comedy of Terrors, which I saw last November. I think I actually saw it before the last time I made a video for you, but I forgot to talk about it. This is the t-shirt from it because, of course, I had to buy the t-shirt. Dracula, A Comedy of Terrors. You might have seen the TikTok ad going around where it's like a smoky stage because people are spraying hairspray, and then this door opens and this very sexy sleeveless Dracula comes out and he's like, hello, nice to meet you. And he's talking to Jonathan Harker, who's this little dweeby guy. It was hilarious. It was wonderful. All the actors were perfect. I don't think it's off Broadway anymore, but I think it is touring now. So I think it may be coming someplace where you could see it. Absolutely recommend. Even if it's a different cast. If you get a chance to see Dracula, a comedy of terrors, do it. See it. I would cherish this program always. Besides selling t-shirts, they were also selling these little walking teeth, but I didn't buy any. I kind of wish I did. Having fake vampire teeth on the cover of its advertising actually worked for Dracula Comedy of Terrors, unlike Dance of the Vampires, which also tried to do that, but wasn't quite silly enough to make it work. So it just made it look really like cheesy. That one was not advertised very well, but that was a musical. I love vampire musicals and plays. Dracula Comedy of Terrors basically parodied every version of Dracula you ever heard of. It was kind of like Dracula Dead and Loving It, but like actually good. Yeah, I said it. Have a few non-vampire yet gothy books to share with you. This is a copy of The Fall of the House of Usher. See, I have Edgar Allan Poe's like complete works story, but that complete works book is like this big, and you're not gonna like sit there like this going through thousands of pages. So having littler versions just to read the individual stories is great. So thank you for sending this to me. What other tales are actually in here? Oh wow, there's a lot of them in here. Edgar Allan Poe wrote a lot of stories that weren't horror or gothic at all. He actually wrote a lot more comedy and satire than he ever did writing horror and spooky tales, but he is remembered for his horror and spooky tales because they withstand the test of time. His humor did not. Like, you wouldn't get his references now, so that's why his humor stories don't really last. But the mysteries, he invented the mystery genre in the police procedural sense. He invented that. Murders in the Rue Morgue was the very first mystery story we ever had where they were trying to solve the murder afterwards. Before that, all stories that had, like, murders in them, the reader would see the murder happen, or it would end with the murder. It would start with them finding the body and having to figure it out. He invented that. He also had one of the very first sci-fi stories ever. He did a whole lot more than horror, but of course it's all the horror ones in here because those are the ones we like. What Feasts at Night? This is a follow-up to What Moves the Dead, which I told you about previously. This is a spin-off of Fall of the House of Usher, and this is a new Gothic tale from best-selling and award-winning author T. Kingfisher, set in the world of What Moves the Dead. So I don't know if this one is retelling a Poe story as well. It doesn't really have any information on the back, but it is set in the same world of Fall of the House of Usher. Your mother never wanted your father to tell the old stories to you children, said it would give you nightmares. But you, of all people, know there are things real and uncanny alike that we ought to fear in order to survive. Aha, so it is a sequel. It starts with, after their terrifying ordeal at the Usher Manor. And I'm not going to read you anymore because I want to tell you any spoilers about their terrifying ordeal. It's got a moth on the cover inside page. That is promising, going to a flame. Beautiful. Pretty end papers. Little books. I love little books. These are so cute. This is like the bibliophile in me that just likes the physical aspects of a book and not like the content. This is why I keep them all. My treasures. And this had been on my wish list also for a long time, which a family member also gave me for Christmas. Thank you. This is Edgar Allan Poe's Tales of Death and Dementia, illustrated by Gris Grimley. I already told you about Edgar Allan Poe's Tales of Mystery and Madness, illustrated by Gris Grimley. I love Gris Grimley's illustrations. I have a lot of books other than Edgar Allan Poe things with his illustrations. This book had, as I told you before, The Black Cat, The Mask of the Red Death, Hot Frog, and The Fall of the House of Usher, all with his wonderful illustrations. And this one has The Telltale Heart, The System of Dr. Tar and Professor Feather, The Oblong Box, and The Facts in the Case of Mr. Vladimir. See the Telltale Heart there. I just love his like super creepy illustrations. Like, they're cartoony and cute, but they're also really like dark and grotesque. Anything illustrated by Gris Grimley. Highly recommend. Grimley's deliciously malevolent illustrations are the perfect complement to Poe's macabre stories. Speaking of Poe's macabre stories, have you seen advertised, like on Facebook and social media and stuff, this traveling Edgar Allan Poe speakeasy that goes from city to city? It came here to my city last year, but I was out of town. I think it was when I was in Romania with Elvira, and I missed it. But I have friends in another city, and I was visiting them, and it came there. So I actually finally got to go to the traveling Edgar Allan Poe speakeasy. And it wasn't really like a bar. It was a performance. So they had 4 themed cocktails that went with 4 of Poe's stories. And there was the The Telltale Heart, The Black Cat, The Raven, and The Mask of the Red Death. So we had 4 cocktails themed to that, and we got to sip them while we watched actors perform the stories, like monologified versions of the stories on stage. And all the actors were amazing, and you got to wear your best, like, Gothic attire, which I did. I dressed up. It was a wonderful evening. This is Nocturne by Elisa Weiss, which I read last month for my IRL book club. This is a Gothic novel. I thought it was going to be Phantom of the Opera because that's what people told me it would be like, because it's about this ballerina and she has a mysterious patron at the theater. But it was actually not very phantom-y at all, other than being a Death and the Maiden story. And as you know, I love stories about Death and the Maiden where death is a character, where there's a Hades-like, Thanatos-like figure. And that this has, it is based on Beauty and the Beast, not Phantom at all, the original Beauty and the Beast story. And I had just recently watched the Jean Cocteau old-timey Beauty and the Beast movie, which is amazing. If you haven't seen it, it's classic. You have to watch it. It is one of Louis de Pointilac's favorite movies, so you should watch it. And there was a lot in here that took straight from that movie, which was very beautiful. It was written in a very artsy, dreamy kind of prose. A lot of the reviews call it like reading a fever dream. It definitely did have that feel. And it's set during the Great Depression in Chicago. Yeah, my book club enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I would recommend. I originally bought it to go on my Phantom of the Opera bookshelf, but no, now it's going on my death bookshelf. Speaking of stories about Grim Reapers and personified death, this is Early to Death, Early to Rise, a novel by Kim Harrison. Kim Harrison, who you may know from her adult urban fantasy books. This is her first YA novel that she ever did. The descriptions on the inside cover say dead fiction, death fiction, future life fiction, fate and fatalism fiction, supernatural fiction, fantasy. Harrison injects her young adult debut with style and originality. Rockin' good fun, packed full of twists and turns. This is actually the sequel to her first young adult debut novel, which is called Once Dead, Twice Shy, and I found this at Goodwill when I was shopping for old books that I could use for crafts, like books I was just going to take apart and use the covers and pages for crafts. And it's all this there. So now I need to find the first book in the series. It is about a teenager who is dead, and there's like Grim Reapers and Guardian Angels and so on and so forth. I'm not going to read you the summary because it is spoilery, but the blurb is 17, dead and in charge of heaven's dark angels, all itching to kill someone. Yeah, she is now a timekeeper. Like a Grim Reaper, sort of. Oh, I need to buy another book. This is going on the death bookshelf as well, but I need to get the first one. I wonder if there's more after this or if it was just a 2-book series. Kim Harrison does write extended series. This is The Cryptid Club. Ooh, so shiny. By Sarah Anderson. The cover glows in the dark. Oh yeah, little ghosties. Author of Sarah Scribbles and Fangs. We talked about Fangs before. Fangs is Sarah Anderson's werewolf vampire romance comic. You probably know Sarah Anderson's comics from the internet. She is amazing. The Cryptid Club is actually a full color comic, unlike Fangs, which is black and white. So cute. Do you hate social gatherings, dodge cameras, enjoy staying up just a little too late at night? You might have more in common with your local cryptid than you think. Enter the world of Cryptid Club, a look inside the adventures of elusive creatures including Mothman, the Loch Ness Monster, jackalopes, and Fresno Nightcrawlers. The newest creation of New York Times bestselling author Sarah Anderson offers a rare and humorous look at the creatures that normally go unseen. This came out in 2022. I love her. I love all of her work. She's hilarious. Oh, there's aliens, monsters. No vampires in this one, but plenty of other dark and spooky things. This is an advanced reader's copy of Apostles of Mercy by Lindsay Ellis, book 3 in the Numinous series. You may know Lindsay Ellis from her other books, Axiom's End and Truth of the Divine. I love these books. These books, while not having vampires or being very spooky, do have aliens and a Death and the Maiden motif going on with it. There is a monster-human relationship going on between the main alien and a human lady. Very up my alley in its own way, so much so that did you know Lindsay Ellis dedicated the first book to me? They say you should always dedicate the book to like who the book is for, and this is very much for me. So if you like the kinds of things I like, you too will like this series. I beta read all of Lindsay's books for her, so I already read a draft of this couple years ago. And now I have the advanced reader's copy. Advanced reader's copies aren't finished copies. The final finished version of this, which comes out on June 4th, and Lindsay is doing a book tour, and you can get a signed book plate and all of that. I run Lindsay's Twitter for her, so I'm always tweeting all these like, oh, this promotion's going on. You could get this. Here's a discount. So yeah, if you're interested in this book and getting discounts and promos and pre-order stuff, go check out Lindsay's Twitter. You guys know who Lindsay is, right? So advanced readers copies, you're not supposed to share or sell or do anything with. And when the book comes out, I'm supposed to destroy this and burn it in a fire or throw it in a shredder, but I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I know Lindsay doesn't need me plugging her, but if you haven't read her books, read them, because I love them. These are a couple little books that I found at my grandma's house. Remember I told you about those other old ancient books that I brought back from my grandma's library? Well, I was there again recently, and I found these two little books, which are really cool. This one is Practical Palmistry by someone named Firth. It has my grandma's signature in it. And it is from 1910. And it is a book on palm reading. I didn't know Grandma was into palm reading. I always thought she was so straight edge, but this is a book on palmistry and reading hands from 1910. Thank you, Grandma, for saving this. My grandma was born in 1908, so she must have gotten this used somewhere down the line. The original copyright was from 1899, so this older book, this is a reprint that came out in 1910, and then Grandma got a hold of it somehow when she was old enough to already have this badass calligraphy signature. I miss you, Grandma. You were cool. Practical Palmistry. So now I can learn how to read palms. This one has her father's signature in it. So great-grandpa. Oh, this is a copy of Paradise Lost by John Milton, and it's illustrated. It has these gorgeous illustrations. Grandpa, when did you buy this? How old is this book? I love the smell of old books. This is just so beautiful. Paradise Lost, the original dark tale. Oh, dang. Look at him. There's no date on this. I find that a lot with these old books that I find in my grandparents' library. There's just no date. Like, you don't know when they're from, but, you know, late 1800s, that's when Grandpa was around, considering his daughter was born in 1908. Paradise Lost, one of the first fan fictions to ever hit the mainstream. This Paul gave me for Christmas, which this is kind of old school, taking us back. This is the 50 Shades of Grey cookbook called 50 Shades of Chicken, a parody in a cookbook by F.L. Fowler. Fowler chicken, haha. 50 chicken recipes bound to be delicious by someone named Fowler. So the reason why 50 Shades of Grey is relevant to our interests is because when Lindsay and Nella and I were writing Awoken, we based a lot of the ideas in it off of 50 Shades of Grey as this book was a Twilight knockoff. So our book is a knockoff of the Twilight knockoffs, and that was the whole joke of our Awoken book by Sarah Ellenson, where sexy Cthulhu goes to high school and falls in love with the most boring girl in America. And love saves the day and stops the apocalypse. So yeah, 50 Shades of Grey was definitely a period of study in my life that I endured. I read all the books. I watched the first movie, but I didn't watch the rest of the movies yet. But yeah, if you want bondage chicken with pictures of like chicken tied up in different trusses. Wait, where was that? Oh, wow, spread eagle chicken. It's called mustard spanked chicken. Well, you know, 50 Shades of Grey is vampire relevant because Christian Grey is Edward Cullen, except his dark secret isn't that he's a vampire. His dark secret is that he's kinky, which makes him a monster, Bella. This is the whip of a monster. So they got sexy arm model to tie up the little wraps around the chicken wings and little chicken wing bondage. Edward Cullen and chicken. Dripping thighs, sticky fingers, chicken sub, chicken with a lard on, learning to trust you, and more. Paul just bought it for me because he thought it was silly. He doesn't actually expect me to cook any of these chicken recipes, but what if I did? What if I did that to him? This is an audiobook, the actual physical CD audiobook of Blood Canticle by Anne Rice. It's read by Stephen Spinella, which is hilarious because my in-laws, Paul's parents, had this sitting in the room where we went to see them for Christmas, and it was sitting in the room where they were staying, and I was like, is this for me? And my mother-in-law was like, oh yeah, my husband reads books, and when he's done, we can give them to you. I was like, he actually listened to this? First of all, it's like 12th in the series, and I know he hasn't read all the other books. And second of all, it's the weird one. It is a super weird book, especially if you don't know anything about Anne Rice's witch lore, which ties heavily into this book along with the vampires. This is a Lestat story, but very much about the witch lore from the Witching Hour and the Mayfair Witches. But no, apparently they just found it somewhere, and they're like, oh, Lisa would like this, so we'll give it to her. They don't actually talk like that. So yeah, now I have an actual CD copy of Blood Chronicle. Guess that's what I'm listening to on my next road trip. Here we go. I got the Interview with the Vampire coffee beans. They sell it in whole bean or ground coffee. I got whole bean because of course I did. We know how to drink coffee in this lair. Whole bean, they have two varieties, one for Lestat and one for Louis. So Lestat's coffee variety, so these are flavored coffees, which already has me a bit like, His coffee flavor is raspberry cream, 100% Arabica coffee. Raspberry cream. I get the raspberry because it's red, it's like blood, Lestat, but calling it raspberry cream just makes it sound so dirty. Like, close your ears, children, but in Anne Rice's vampire lore, all of the vampires' bodily fluids are tinted with blood. Like, they sweat, but the sweat is tinted with blood. So when sweat comes out of them, it's like pink. They cry and their tears are tinted with blood. So it's like red streaks going down their face. They're not crying actual literal blood. They're crying tears that have blood tints. Their saliva is tinted with blood. So like if you were to kiss one, it would taste like blood. All of their bodily fluids are tinted with blood. So considering that the Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire TV show changed the lore so that these vampires can have sex, I'm wondering if that's what the marketing people really intended raspberry cream to be? Like, why else call it raspberry cream? Like, what kind of marketing is this? Like, you think they would just call it, like, raspberry night or something like that, but nope, it's raspberry cream. So we are going to make a steaming hot cup of Lestat's raspberry cream to drink. We'll let you know how it tastes. Introducing the officially licensed Interview with the Vampire Raspberry Cream Coffee inspired by the captivating character Lestat de Liancourt. Immerse yourself in the tantalizing aroma of freshly brewed coffee infused with the essence of juicy raspberries and rich velvety cream. I mean, it sounds tasty. This blend is carefully crafted to capture the essence of Lestat's enigmatic charm and the brooding darkness that surrounds him. Those supposed to be euphemisms too? Like to capture the essence of Lestat's enigmatic charm. Is the raspberry cream the essence? But beware, as the combination of raspberry notes and the smooth creaminess will leave you craving for more. Just like Lestat's insatiable appetite for immortality. Ingredients: coffee, natural and artificial flavors. Lots of coffees have lots of different tastes and flavors to them that emerge naturally from where and when and how the bean is grown. But for flavored coffees, they usually just like add flavor to them, which I'm not usually a fan of. I like coffees that have notes that are naturally imbued in the coffee. So I don't know if I'm going to like this artificially flavored coffee, but I'm definitely going to try it. Now for Louis. Look at him. He's so angry, such an angry vampire. Louis de Pointelac, Mardi Gras French Toast Coffee. Mardi Gras French Toast. Introducing the officially licensed Interview with the Vampire Mardi Gras French Toast Coffee inspired by the enigmatic character Louis de Pointelac. Delve into the darkness with every sip as this brew awakens your senses and transports you to the eerie streets of New Orleans. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee intertwines with the decadent scent of French toast and king cake, creating a tantalizing experience that will awaken your deepest desires. As you indulge in this brew, you may find yourself succumbing to the allure of darkness, embracing the eternal night that Louis himself knows so well. I mean, I am down for that. Also contains natural and artificial flavors. This one kind of sounds more tasty to me. French toast sounds sweet. I like sweet things, like Louis. If he heard me say that, he'd probably eat me. Doesn't look very sweet here, though, does he? Angry Louis. Speaking of Louis, an Interview with the Vampire, and AMC, that trip I mentioned that I'm going on next week to New York is... The new TV show Season 2 is coming out. It airs May 12th. We are all very excited. It's very close. It's finally coming here. But on April 30th is the premiere of the show that like the cast and the crew and everyone is going to and the celebrities in New York City. And the event held this contest for fans to enter where you could actually win tickets to go to this Hollywood, New Yorky Wood premiere event. And I didn't enter that contest because like I already have the screeners and I didn't want to take the chance away from a fan who hasn't seen it yet. But I didn't have to enter the contest because I was actually just invited to it as a content creator. So I will be there and I will be making content about it. And I'm so excited. I've already seen the first episode, which I can't talk to you about. So that's not what I'm excited about. I'm excited to be there among the people, meet other fans, maybe get to meet people who worked on the show, maybe even meet the actors. Oh my God, I'm so excited. And just generally have a good vampire-y time. That's April 30th. So I'll be in New York City for my birthday on May 1st. Also, I'm just going to hang around extra day and have a nice New York City birthday. See a Broadway show, do those things I do. Oh, look, the rating scale on this is by like fang marks. So this is medium roast towards the brighter side, whereas these are more towards the bitter side, the darker roasts. So Louis is up here in the medium. So is Lestat. I guess they are the same exact base coffee beans, and then they just added different artificial flavors to them. This is from Dead Sled Coffee. You can go to their website and order it. That's what I did. It takes a little while for it to come in the mail, so make sure you order it plenty ahead of time. And you can be drinking a cup of Lestat and Louis' essences as you watch the premiere of season 2 of Interview with the Vampire on TV. I was actually in the middle of writing a video for you about all the trailers that we've gotten since my last video about the previous trailer. We've gotten like 8 other clips of trailers and promotional material and scenes and like teasers since then. I was gonna make a video going through them all scene by scene and telling you like, this is this and this is that and this is what happens here and that's actually that person and break it all down for you. But then I got the screeners and I couldn't wait. I had to watch them right away. So now that I know for sure what everything is, I can't tell you about it. So sorry, I didn't end up being able to make that video. I mean, there's still stuff in the trailers that I haven't seen, but if I were to speculate on it now, people might think that I was using my knowledge of embargoed information to discuss it, which is not allowed, and I will not even go there. So you'll just have to wait for May 12th for my first video about episode 1 to come out. And if they drop episode 1 and 2 at the same time, then maybe both my videos will come out at the same time. If they drop them 3 days early, like they did with season 1, then we'll get them then, right? So excited. As you know, I am here for anything Anne Rice related. Absolutely anything. Even Queen of the Damned. Remember I told you about my red squishy ball heart that I couldn't find last time? Well, I found it. This is what it looks like. A red squishy ball heart that Akasha ripped out of that guy's chest and then bit like this. You know, she did it actually like attractively. Stress ball. I also got this keychain as a gift from a loved one. It's Louis and Lestat and Claudia. I know it's probably hard to see. It's all shiny. I'm sorry, you can't see this at all. Isn't that cute? One side has them clean and one side has them drooling blood. Anne Rice would not approve. Her vampires never draw blood, but you know, it's for the aesthetic. I believe my friend got this off Etsy, so if you look for Louis Lestat Claudia keychains, hopefully you'll be able to find it too. This also came from Etsy. This sweatshirt, New Orleans, Lestat Louis Claudia coffins, and then this quote from the book Interview with the Vampire, like angels put in hell by God. Comes in 3 colors. I got this gray color because like everything I own is black, and I was like, maybe I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna get gray. This is a size medium for reference. Just go to Etsy and look up like Interview with the Vampire New Orleans college sweater. I think it's like supposed to be like a college university type style. Also, my new enamel pin, can you see that? It says, all vampires are gay. I saw this online when I was buying something else. I was buying like a book to keep my stickers in. I love stickers. I have so many stickers. And I also saw that they were selling this pin, so I had to buy it because, you know, it's true. And we will wear the truth right over our hearts. This is a really cool skull dish. Dish, I guess. Yeah, it's a dish. My brother gave it to me for Christmas. You're supposed to like put your keys and stuff in it. Like when you first walk into the house, it's like a place to drop your like keys and your phone. And what do they have in here? Watches, calculators, lighters, wallet. Yeah, place to like put your stuff out of your pockets. And your skull dish. Very handy to have. He also gave me this cool thing. Can you see it? It is a glowing, it's a crystal ball glowing with a skull inside. Lights up. There it is. It's off. You light it up. The skull glows. Very beautiful. My other brother gave me this carafe decanter. What do we call these? It's got a blown glass skull inside, which doesn't hold the liquid. So you put the liquor in there, which, knowing me, it's probably going to be spiced rum because that is the best liquor and it's what I always prefer to drink and decant. I buy like the giant bottles of Kraken and then decant them into pretty bottles like this. So. Skull bottle. These Raven Crow bookends for my bookcases that my friend gave me for Christmas. Thank you. Always need more. Now that I have extra bookshelves, so there's actually space on my shelves, I do need to prop up some books with bookends. These are perfectly timed. This is the box they came in. Crows and ravens belong to the highly intelligent Corvus genus of the Corvidae bird family that includes jackdaws and jays. Around the world, tales abound of the intelligence of crows, magpie mischief, and ravens' mythical ability to prophesize and prevent bloodshed. Well, that's interesting. By Streamlined Imagined. Regarded by scientists as one of the most intelligent animals on the planet, these birds are the perfect choice to contain your book collection. I love ravens, and also crows by extension. Like, you know that question, like, if you could turn into one animal, what would you be? Raven. If you could have one random pet, what would it be? Raven. Like, why would you ever choose anything else other than a raven? This little guy is so cute. This little vampire. This is an official Universal Studios Monsters licensed merchandise. It's a pet toy. I don't have any pets. Even if I did, I wouldn't give this to a dog or a cat. It is a me toy. I am the pet. Sit right there, Dracula. He's so happy. This Phantom of the Opera wallet, notebook wallet. You could also use it as a passport holder. It came with a little notebook in it and a pen. Wallet. It is canvas book cover. This is the original Phantom of the Opera book cover from ye olde times. And this was something that was Facebook advertised to me. And you see these a lot advertised on Facebook and social media, and you just go to whatever website and you can buy these overpriced book wallets. But they never have Phantom. They always have other things I like Dracula or Wuthering Heights or Poe or those kind of things, but never Phantom. So when I saw that one actually had Phantom, I had to get it right away. Doesn't look like a very secure wallet though. I feel like my stuff would fall out of here pretty quickly, but as a passport holder, it works. Phantom of the Opera metal sign thing. Just to go on your wall. It's got the Lon Chaney movie poster, really pretty version of it. Can you see that? It's really pretty. This was from the same place I was trying to buy a book to put my stickers in, and I saw that Vampires Are Gay pin, and I saw this. I had to get them both. I've never seen this before, as far as my Phantom merchandise collecting goes. This Phantom of the Opera coaster, and I also have a Dracula book cover coaster. Paul found these at an antique store. He loves to go antiquing. Paul is always going antiquing. These are not antiques, but it's the kind of antique store where people also sell arts and crafts. And so these were some of the arts and crafts. And they only had one coaster for each book cover. And I managed to get these two. So now if anyone ever comes over to steal my books and actually stays for a drink, there'll be a place for each of us to put our goblets. I went to California to visit Lindsay and my family and my new niece recently. And while we were there, Lindsay and I went to Disney because she was having a school alumni event there. And we took my niece to Disneyland. And I, of course, only had one mission while I was there, which was go to the Haunted Mansion gift shop. Couldn't go to the Haunted Mansion itself because it was closed for construction. We actually didn't go on any rides because we were there just for the event, not for riding. But I did go to the gift shop. I got this mug. It's a coffin-shaped mug. Haunted Mansion on the back. Sexy bride ghost on the front. Looks like it'd be very awkward to drink out of, but you know what? It's a coffin, so I'll do it anyway. I got this Haunted Mansion purse. It's got a chain on it. It's got the Haunted Mansion wallpaper. The inside is the blue stripy pattern. It is kind of a very frustrating purse to use. I have been using it because it's just one big bucket and you can't find anything in it. So I have to use a bunch of little pouches. But worth it because it's so cute. Disney Haunted Mansion model kit. It's a kit for making a little model of the Haunted Mansion in plastic. Build and display, 145 pieces. Ages 8+, so I let my fledgling spawn work on this. Can you believe he's going to be 10 this summer? 10. You remember when he was spawned, right? When I was doing those Punktoberfest videos with Nella and I showed you the baby? That was 2 months after he was born. He's going to be 10 this summer. This Haunted Mansion coffin candle, scented candle, modern home. Can't really tell what it's supposed to smell like. Smells like a modern home, I guess. Why would you make a haunted mansion smell like a modern home? Does it say? Warning, do not eat. Shop Disney in every single possible language. Nope. Doesn't say. Modern home. your haunted mansion will now smell like a modern home. Okay. But the jar is cute. This little guy coming up out of his coffin. While I was at Disney, I went to Disney Springs, which is where they have a bunch of shops that aren't necessarily Disney related. I went to this card shop that has these cool pop-up cards, and I got 2. This one just because I loved it so much. On the front it says, "I'm dead in love with you." And then when it pops up, you have a skeleton couple, a happy, loving skeleton couple in a Gothic red rose. Skeleton hands on top. This is such a cool card. This card company is called Love Pop. So, I don't know if there's one where you live. You could probably buy them online. They're at Disney Springs. Also, since it's my birthday, next week I bought myself my own birthday card, which is a Grim Reaper. He's got a cake, he's got balloons, he's holding some cake. It says, "I only came for the cake, so he's not here to kill me." Oh, he's got pretty little pink shoes. The front of the card says, "Fear not." I love it. Yes, I buy myself my own birthday card. Who else is gonna get me this? You know how much I love the Grim Reaper, right? Like, he's my favorite. Like, it goes Grim Reaper, Phantom of the Opera, Lestat. Those are my 3 guys. And then the Predator. The Strahd Funko Pop, which a friend gave me for Christmas. Thank you. Oh, Strahd. I am still playing Curse of Strahd with my D&D group. Oh, it comes with the 20-sided die, too. Strahd gets his own die. He's got his cup. He's got his flowing locks of hair. My campaign has actually almost gotten to Strahd, finally. Done all the side quests, all the missions, got all the things. We're almost finally to the Strahd showdown. Now I got the little guy. He is ancient. He is land. I did a video on the book I Strahd, which is a Strahd's life story, which has a lot of spoilers for the game if you're actually going to play the game. And that was written for 1st edition D&D, back when Strahd was still a chaotic evil villain. Now he's a lawful evil villain, I think. Not lawful. He's not chaotic evil anymore in this new version of Curse of Strahd. So, you know, you're up against this mastermind. It's a fun campaign to play. Thank you for the Funko Pop. I'll add you to my collection of vampire Funkos and Elvira's. Vampires and Elvira's. Probably hard to see, but this badass wolf ring. Can you see that? Look at this. Look at that. You could kill someone with this thing. Yeah, I know wolves, whatever, werewolves, but Dracula could turn into a wolf. Vampires have been wolfing for a very long time. And, you know, it also kind of reminds me of the vampire Lestat, vampire who killed wolves, the wolf killer. The killing of the wolves was what got the attention of the vampire who made him into a vampire in the first place. So wolves are very relevant for, you know, Lestat reasons and also, I guess, Dracula reasons. So thank you for the ring. It's a little bit big because it could kind of fit on my thumb. There we go. Question is, do you wear the wolf facing towards you or facing away? Is it like a Claudia ring? Does one mean that I'm like taken? Does one mean that I'm Dracula's? Which way means that I belong to Dracula? Facing or away? Maybe it's away, so that way it'll attack anyone who tries to get to me because I belong to Dracula. This shirt that Paul got me for Christmas, it says Gym Bat because I go to the gym a lot. I wouldn't wear this shirt to the gym. It's not really a gym shirt, but I do like it. I work out. Instead of being a gym rat, I'm a gym bat. Last thing I want to share with you is this book I made. This is one of the things I was buying used books for because I took this cover off an old book and then made my own book inside of it. This kind of book is called a junk journal, which is one of the crafts that I like to make with crafting. And this is actually the first full-size junk journal I've made. I made a couple like little practice ones before this, but this is my first, and I'm pretty proud of it. I have been admiring junk journals for many years now. I did everything here. I put these embellishments on, I put this thing on. I made a little video showing off all the pages and angles of this that I put on my Instagram if you want to go and like see it fully. I'll just show you generally what it is. So all these papers came from a kit that I bought, but then you also make papers on your own by coffee dyeing papers and stamping them and decorating them. All these pockets and tags. This is a journal for writing in, for using. All of these things in here are journaling spaces, so you can journal on the back of this card. You stick it under this belly band. And this journal is a vampire themed, Vampire and Roses themed. And as a practice journal, I'm pretty proud of it. I feel like I did a pretty good job. One of a kind, hand constructed, hand created. I sewed the signatures into the binding, book binding. Signature is like each chunk of pages here. Anyway, if you like crafting, I am proud of this. This is the sort of thing that I want to eventually start like making an Etsy store of my own to sell. I love making these kind of crafts, but I never use them, so I want to make them For other people, of course, they will always be gothy. Isn't it pretty? I just love this art form. Thing I made! Thank you for joining me this evening in the Vampire Library and letting me share with you all these new vampire books and Gothic things. If you are going to be in New York City next week, or this week, depending on when you actually watch this video, April 30th, for the premiere of the Interview with the Vampire Season 2, the premiere event, which is like an immersive theater experience event, and you see me, say hi. I want to say hi to you. I'm there to meet people. I'll be there with my friend Princess Weeks, who's also a YouTuber who talks about vampires, who you may know. You should check out our channel if you don't. She is amazing. And then May 1st, there's another event that you could buy tickets for to watch the first episode, a screening event that has a panel with the cast afterwards. And I didn't buy a ticket for that because I didn't think I was going to be there. I didn't know I was getting invited to this thing, so I don't have a ticket. It's sold out, but I will be around. And I have friends who are going to that, so I'm going to be hanging out with them. So if you're at that event, I might be around to see you then. I'm so excited. What do you think, Dracula? Are we going to meet Lestat and Louis? The next time you hear from me, aside from our regularly scheduled Let's Play videos where we were playing a vampire story, which is a very fun and cute point-and-click adventure game, will probably be when we are talking about the new season of Interview with the Vampire. I plan to make a video about every single episode, just like I did with Season 1. My videos in Season 1 were about, because the showrunner said that even though we have changed the characters and the setting and the time period, our show still is more true to the books than the 1994 Tom Cruise movie was, and it very much respects the spirit of Anne Rice, whatever that meant to them. So my first season of videos was seeing how true that was, comparing the show to the books to see if it was more true than the movie and how well it did. And my ultimate conclusion was that it did not live up to that promise. If they had never made that promise, I never would have even noticed or cared, but that was the point of those videos, to compare the two. So this season, since we know that's not the promise they're trying to make, I won't be judging their success or failure based on that, but I will still be comparing the books to the show to talk about what's different and what stayed the same and how that changes the story that we're telling here. Because people look to me as an expert on the books. I know these books inside and out. I spend all my time studying Anne Rice's texts. This is literally all I do with my life. So people ask me all the time, was that in the book? Is that how it went in the story? Was that new? Was that different? And I can tell you those things. So that's what my videos on Season 2 will be about, letting you know what was different, what's the same, what little bits in here are Easter eggs from different books, and so on and so forth. I'm very excited to break down those episodes with you, compare them to the books, and discuss what that means. Until then, I bid you a good evening, happy reading, and if you know someone with a vampire library that may rival mine, please let me know the details, because that way I know who to beat. Mine shall be the biggest library of them all! #UndeathGoals.